welcome back to the channel. So, my Stratocaster build has just basically become perfect. It's like the perfect guitar for me. I don't have it here with me today. I didn't bring it in. I've been leaving Red up here, so I always have a guitar to play when I come in here. And at home, I've just been on that Strat, Toby Russell Fender build, just because I love it so much. And it's just playing so well, and I'm just starting to think there's something to do with the roasted maple neck, and that there's something that, like this neck is a plain neck, and aesthetically I really like the way the roasted maple looks. It just has this rich quality, so aesthetically speaking, I like it a lot, and I find it to be an improvement. I know everybody has different tastes, and it does not look like, you know, the traditional Fender maple neck, but I actually find it aesthetically, you know, quite pleasing. And this guitar does not hold tune anywhere near as well as my Black Limba Fender Strat, but I'm starting to think that perhaps, I know this is a Squire and it's nowhere near the quality of that neck or that guitar, but I'm starting to think that the reason this one is not as stable, it might be because of the roasted maple, although this is a 21-year-old piece of wood, so you would think it would be aged enough to match what the aging of roasting the maple does. So I'm assuming when they roast the maple in the factory, what's happening is all the moisture is being removed. It's changing sort of the molecular structure of the wood, making it more like carbonized, caramelized or whatever. I'm not sure if those are the correct terms, but I do believe that it's carbonization that's occurring when you pull all that water out like that and bake it slow. And so essentially what I'm able to understand from reading about it is that the roasted maple sort of replicates an older neck, a more stable piece of wood where the moisture is, you know, worked its way out, evaporated over time. And I'm assuming that that's what happens with an old piece of wood. Over time, the molecular structure changes, and it just starts to sound better and sweeter and feel better in the hands, and just everything gets better over time with wood. And I'm thinking that perhaps the roasted maple gets you there quickly. You know, you don't have to wait 20, 30 years, 40 years, I don't know how long you have to wait for wood to, you know, get exactly right. But I think it sort of gets you there quicker. Which brings me to the idea of my next project. I'm trying to decide what to do. Because I've become so fascinated with the bent steel sound, and these aren't actually bent steel saddles, they are bent steel, but they're funky. No, they're not bent steel, they're just stamped steel. I should switch these out and put some bent steel ones on there, because I really think that's a big part of the sound of the Stratocaster, is those saddles. And there's several other things, obviously the scale length and all that stuff, but when you compare Stratocasters to each other, I think that a modern saddle versus a bent steel gives you a significantly different tone. And I think that that bent steel sound is like the original Stratocaster sound that I find fascinating, because I've already, you know, heard more modern guitars from like the 80s on that did not use those types of saddles. So what I want to do now is build a Telecaster with that same sort of philosophy, like an original style Telecaster, like not the original, you know, Esquire model, the original Broadcaster that only had one pickup, but the standard, like I guess like a 52 Telecaster, and I want that type of body, and I want it to be in a finish that is not poly. So like Fender offers a nitro version. It's pretty expensive, which leads me to the cost. I think that I'm going to go for I'm going to shoot the works on this one, as opposed to trying to do like a budget or like mid-level build, mainly because I've done budget and mid-level builds before, and usually like friend of the channel K Mays, I'm taking older guitars and trying to make the best of them. But with this experiment, I think what I want to do is spend the money and take my time building it. Maybe I don't buy all the parts at once, maybe I just acquire special things as I see them. But I want a body that has been finished in a lacquer, or like a, they do like the Fender thing, nitro, as opposed to this poly, you know, thick poly finish, which isn't very musical, let's face facts. Very durable, but not particularly musical. So I want to have that, and I want to have the original 52 specs, you know, as far as the cut goes. I want the original bridge. I know they're hard to intonate, and I'm probably going to curse all this stuff later, but I've never had the Telecaster, the true original Telecaster experience. I have an amazing Schecter Super Tele, but that's a completely different type of guitar, even though it's shaped like a Telecaster. It's mahogany. It has Super Rock Schecter pickups in it. They're push-pull. It's more like a Charvel or something like that. You know, it was looking into the future when they made that guitar. And so it's kind of like the Super Tele thing, and I love that guitar, but I want to experiment with the original Telecaster tone, which I'm assuming lies in that bridge, and perhaps the 725 neck radius, which brings me to the next thing that I want to mention. Is because I like that roasted maple neck so much, I was thinking of putting a 12-inch radius Telecaster neck onto a really nice body, like the American vintage AVRI bodies, or any like custom shop level recreation of the original Telecaster body. The neck, I could do something similar with the neck, but I have struggled in the past with 725 radius as far as bending notes, and I'm really trying to become a better guitar player, using blues as sort of a blueprint for coming up with new ideas and new songs, and just to learn how to play the blues idiom, you know, get better at it, because it's basically, you know, what rock is, you know, made from. So I want to get better at playing guitar, and I find that 12-inch radius, I guess because I came from the Gibson world originally, that 12-inch radius just makes it easier for me to bend the notes. But I don't want to lose any tone. So people out there that know more, how much tone do you lose when you go from 725 to 9.5 to 12? Because, you know, it's less wood. Is that part of the Telecaster tone? Does it have to be 725? Because if it is, that's what I'm going to do, because I'm trying to recreate that. But if I can get pretty close with one of those Mexican roasted maple necks with a super nice body, and of course Lawler pickups, I think with all of that, it's going to be shooting the works. But I kind of priced it, and I priced it at $1,400 based on what I could find either from the Fender site itself, or from the Stratosphere, or from some other seller on eBay or Reverb. I came up with about $1,400, and you can buy an AVR from like the 90s, 2000s for around $15, $16 on up, you know, depending on the condition. So if I could get one built for $1,400, I think it would be worth it, because a complete AVR1 is still several $100s and more than that, and more than likely I would eventually want to put Lawlers in it, which adds another additional $300 to the price tag. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that build. I'm not in a hurry to do it, but I think it'll be fun to do it on camera and discuss it with people and learn more about the Telecaster, because like I said, I'm just utterly bewitched, you know, completely in love with this original Fender tone, you know, going through a Fender amp, and my 18 watt. It's just my 18 watts in the shop. I think it sounds amazing on both circuits, the British and the because Hendrix did it with the British circuit, and Clapton did it with an American circuit. So everybody does their thing, you know, with whatever they have, and make amazing tones. I think all of it sounds awesome, and so I think that a Telecaster would get me close to like a Les Paul, as far as like it's the other way to play guitar compared to a Strat. And I don't have to worry about cracking headstocks, because the Gibson, I've got a wonderful, wonderful 86 Les Paul Custom, but I do not want to play it out much anymore, because I did a little damage to the headstock. I ran into a ride cymbal, and I'm just very energetic, and the Les Paul is just too breakable. And so I think a Telecaster could kind of replace my Les Paul tunes. I could use a Telecaster for the Les Paul tunes, and a Strat for all my new Strat tunes. So I'll update those that are watching and those that are interested in those builds, and let you know what my progress will be. But I would like, if anybody's watching out there and is intrigued by any of this, let me know what you think about a standard 725. Like, I noticed they had a Baja fat neck, like a 52, or a custom shop 52, or just going to the Fender site and buying one of the American standard Telecaster necks. Is that a better idea versus the 12-inch roasted maple, and I'm thinking K-Mays may have an opinion on this. I don't know if he's messed with roasted maple yet, because he mainly works on guitars that he sort of acquires and then fixes them up, as opposed to like buying expensive crap like this. But anyway, I really like those roasted maple necks, so I'm considering that, but I don't want to do the wrong thing, because then later I'll kick myself if I find out that I'm missing some magic at that original 50s Tele tone if you don't have a proper maple neck that's 725 or at least 9.5, you know, because I would think it feels like there's a lot less wood when you got a 12-inch radius. I don't know. That could be the more of the shape of the neck, a U shape, a V shape, a C shape, but the modern C with the 12-inch just feels a lot smaller than say like a V-neck 725, you know, and so I don't want to miss out by just being attracted to the aesthetics of the roasted maple and the way it feels in my hand. I could learn to play. I also want a torture guitar, not that all my guitars aren't torture guitars, but I think it's important to have a couple guitars that are tough on your hands, you know, so you don't get lazy. And it makes, when you go to your 12-inch radius, you're just flying, you know, because you've been working hard on that 725. Next time.